Hi, everybody. Welcome back to my YouTube channel, Politics with Sherry Jacobus. Thank you for subscribing. And if you haven't subscribed yet, and you like what we do here, help me out and hit that button. So yes, Trump is still trying to starve people. That should come as no surprise. To be clear, there are 42 million people who do rely on food assistance, the SNAP program. You do not have to open the government in order to release these emergency funds, and Trump still won't do it. A federal judge ordered him to do it. He took it to the Supreme Court, and they have now said they put a hold on that. And so we have, so now the order has gone out for the states that were in the process of releasing the funds to feed 42 million people, or at least some of them who need this food to eat, to live. And our president going to the Supreme Court, using every tool and corrupt tool at his disposal to starve Americans. Okay. Ask your MAGA friends about that, especially if they're in church today. See if they still support that. So this was courtesy of Matt Smith. He's a political director of WISN 12 News in Milwaukee. He's talking about Wisconsin Governor Tony Evers, his statement after Trump administration told states to immediately undo the November food share payments or potentially face penalties. And the Democratic governor of Wisconsin, Governor Tony Evers, his statement was no. I love this. He says, pursuant to and consistent with an active court order, Wisconsin legally loaded benefits to cards, ensuring nearly 700,000 Wisconsinites, including nearly 270,000 kids, had access to basic food and groceries. They're not pulling back. It's in the pipeline. It's done. So it would be really nice if every state did that, wouldn't it? That's what we want to see. That's the pushback we want to see. You know, I think Governor Newsom of California has led the way in terms of governors using their power and looking at Trump in the eye and saying, no, no. They're doing it with ICE. You've got Governor Pritzker doing it. So I think it's really cool now that Governor of Wisconsin, his statement is simply no. And then he went on, but I love it. Absolutely love it. And I'd sure like to see the other states follow his lead and say no. If Trump is defying court orders, if Trump is overreaching his authority as the executive branch, if Trump is starving people, you don't go, well, sorry, guys, we have to obey this corrupt, illegitimate president and let you just go hungry. You just say no. Thank you, Governor Evers. So, yeah, speaking of Gavin Newsom, the rally in Texas, good for him. Prop 50. I love it. I love it. This is what leaders do. And right now, he is leading. And some of the other governors are doing a pretty good job too. But I want to talk about, again, go back to Trump starving Americans. This is very Putin-esque. I've talked about this before. It's been many months. I kind of touched on it. I think it's one thing if you're different ways to threaten people, but if you're starving people, you can control them. And that is what Putin does. So I'm thinking about Ukraine. All right. I'm thinking Trump and Putin may have a plan to make the United States dependent on Russia for food. Now, right now, we don't import grain from Ukraine, but they pretty much feed the rest of Europe, which is one reason why Putin wants Ukraine. They are the breadbasket of the world, and Putin can't feed his own people. Not that he cares too much about that, but he wants that. And then when you look at what's happening in the United States with Trump, having ICE haul away migrant workers, and they've all left the fields. And so our farmers who produce grain and other food items, the crops are left rotting in the field, just rotting. And so we have to import more. Well, once you put tariffs on other countries, that harms our ability to import even what we need. And people can't afford to eat. You can't afford to purchase the food that's coming into the United States now that our ability to produce our own is being chipped away at by Trump. So you get rid of the migrant workers, You harm our farmers with tariffs, okay? And food becomes harder to get. You are now cutting off the SNAP benefits. And so we've got a food issue coming in the United States. Well, we already do. And it just seems to me that this is a way for Trump. He wants to hand Ukraine to Putin. And then if it gets to the point where, okay, because of Trump's tariffs, we can't, our farmers are dying off. Because of migrant workers, the food is rotting in the fields. So, okay, where are we going to get it? I just have this feeling that eventually Trump is going to say, oh, our good friend Putin, see what a good guy he is? He's really an ally. He is now going to sell us the grain. Well, okay, he's already stealing grain from Ukraine, from those areas that he's taken over. And of course, Ukrainians and the rest of the sane world, the free world, understand that this is theft. This is Putin stealing the crops from Ukraine, from the areas that he's illegally taken over. Corn, wheat, barley. I mean, those are the exports from Ukraine. So, Putin just goes in, takes it, steals it from the occupied territories and calls it his own, and then exports it for profit, of course. So Ukraine doesn't get the benefit of those exports. Putin does. This is what he wants to do. And with Trump basically shutting down our ability to feed ourselves in this country, we're going to need to get it from somewhere, aren't we? And I think that somewhere is going to be from Putin. Now, I'm connecting a lot of dots here. It may seem a little bit off, but I think it's something worth mentioning and thinking about and tracking so that we're not surprised. The tariffs, getting rid of our migrant workers so our food stays in the field and rots. Starting to understand how this goes. It wasn't just the rare earth minerals that Trump was trying to help Putin get. I mean, that's a biggie because that's why in August, when he's in Alaska, Trump was floating the idea of offering Putin access to our rare earth minerals in Alaska that belong to the United States. I think Trump's desperate to please Putin, and he can't yet deliver Ukraine to him, so he's scrambling. And of course, Putin wants the rare earth minerals in Ukraine. So does Trump. Trump wants the oil in Venezuela. That's what this is all about. Even though the UN has ordered him to stop these extrajudicial killings. The drugs that Trump claims are coming from Venezuela aren't. They don't make them. This is just him trying to have a military invasion and overtaking Venezuela for the oil. He's a pirate. He's a pirate. But in thinking about the food and starving our own people, when I mentioned this a few months ago, I think there were some people that thought, well, no, that's a little far-fetched. But I think we also know that in this era of Trump, nothing is far-fetched. And we need to probably take that out of our vocabulary. If you can connect the dots, it's probably happening. And in this case, the dots connect. So if the only doubting Thomas talking point on this is, well, I just don't think Trump would go that far. Really? Trump right now is denying food to 42 million poor, hungry Americans. And Governor Evers in Wisconsin simply said, no, we're not doing that. So we need to stop hitting the pause button when something sounds too big and too scary. Because to say, well, Trump would never go that far, that needs to be taken out of our vocabulary. Trump will go as far as he can. There is nothing he won't do. I mean, nothing. Nothing. Alligator Alcatraz. He was gleeful about that. They love these ICE agents, a lot of them January 6th thugs, criminals, masked ICE agents acting as domestic terrorists. And if you think that Trump would stop at starving the American people, we now know that he is fighting. He's taking it to the Supreme Court so that he can starve Americans. I hope that other governors just say no. And at some point, I hope that each and every one of us, I know it's hard to do in your personal life, but maybe at Thanksgiving when you're sitting around the table, because most of us don't have MAGA in our life on purpose. I've lost a lot of friends. I should say I got rid of a lot of friends. That was 10 years ago. My Republican friends, as you know, I was a Republican strategist. I worked in the field for decades, and I left the party the day after they nominated Trump. Never looked back. So for those of you who maybe you don't have MAGA in your life because you did what I did, you're just not going there. But at Thanksgiving, maybe you have to be around some relatives who are MAGA. Ask them, or maybe offer to give the prayer of thanksgiving and pray for the 42 million Americans that Trump is starving. Ask your MAGA friends, your MAGA family, relatives, if they endorse this. And if they say, well, food is cheaper this year, those Walmart baskets, again, remind them that the Walmart Thanksgiving baskets last year had 24 items, mostly name brand. And this year, they have 15 items, mostly the Walmart brand. So no, they didn't. The baskets are not cheaper. Well, they cost less or about the same, only because there is less food in them. There is less food in them. Because I guarantee you're going to have some stupid MAGA relatives at Thanksgiving that think they've got this information because Sean Hannity or Jesse Waters or some such lying, un-American idiots at Fox News have told them this. This isn't just tax cuts anymore. We're at that point. We are at that point where we have Americans who are going hungry because of Trump and MAGA. 100% because of them. And they're doing this. They're holding them hostage. They're holding the food assistance hostage to try and weaken everybody, beat them over the head so they can then take away their health insurance. That's the choice. And by claiming Democrats could take care of this anytime they want, no. Not without harming people. Those are the facts. So this Thanksgiving with your MAGA relatives, you let them know that if they still are MAGA, if they still support Trump, they are responsible for starving Americans. Oh, not just the people they hate. Because you'd be surprised how many people have to, at some point in their lives, rely on food assistance. And one day, it just might be your MAGA friends and relatives, and see how they feel about that.